Okay. Trying this out. We'll see how it goes, I guess. Check that thing out. Oh, come on. Kind of cool, huh? Shoot. Kind of funny. Never felt awkward working on tools until I put a camera in front of me, so. What's up, Ammo? Yeah, oh shit. Is the audio okay? Let's see. It can be for debarking. It's mostly for finishing. Bark's very hard on edges, so typically you use like a broad axe or something like that, but people do use it. Jansen, my man, got me here. Oh my gosh. Beat up and wallered out. Should probably make new ones. This is gonna be pretty freaking boring until I can get this all figured out. These are so freaking light. I'm really debating just making new ones instead of refinishing these. Yeah, that's not cool ammo. Seems like a personal thing. Gotta get these camera angles figured out. Feels very awkward just talking to myself, basically, and then looking over reading comments. I don't know how you guys do it, but I'm always doing projects, so I might as well go live and have the projects there. Oh, it's light. Bam! Yes, I am reworking this handle. Give me some feedback on the audio. Can you hear me at all? Oh, okay, cool. What kind of wood is it? Junky wood. Probably something from the Pacific side of not the US, if you know what I mean. It's not good. I don't use this tool very much, so it's probably not worth making new handles, but this is basically like balsa or something. I don't freaking know. It's rough though. Most of the cool projects I already did while watching other people's live streams. So I just hang out here and watch lives and do this kind of stuff a lot. It's not hickory. Utah Dad, it's close to my heart, so I'm just as thankful for you to put a live stream out to promote that kind of stuff and make awareness for it. So you don't really have to thank me. I'm thanking you. So yeah, I had a good friend. I was roommates with him for a long time. Worked with him, and he found out what an ounce of heavy metal tastes like, if you know what I mean. Thanks, Cody. Appreciate it. There's another tool I could work on. I just re-waxed these recently. I get a lot more use out of these than I do the freak do you call that thing? Draw knife. Yeah. I use the planes a lot more than the draw knife. The draw knife's more for like timber framing, not necessarily just woodworking. so it doesn't see much use around here. Yeah, it's a handle to a draw knife. So. Some of these complex wood grain structures and these shapes, you got to be real careful on how you scrape them, because you can get into the end grain and really screw it up. So you got to always be conscientious of which way you're pushing. Like, see, yeah, it lifted it there. So I'm going to have to pull to here, then turn around and pull to here, or push, whichever. Yeah, everybody should be outside more, not on their phones watching all the famous YouTubers they're friends with. It's almost like it's a ASMR video and not freaking something cool. Patience makes you a better person, that's for sure. If you have any wood handled tools and they're lacquer, you need to get that off of there and get some oil back into the wood. This is just terrible for wood. Makes it look pretty to sell, but not for using. And it can make your hands blister if you keep this on there and don't put oil into the wood. This is not conducive to any type of work, really, but it will make your hands blister. Oh, so the metal scrape, before they had sandpaper, this is what you would use to finish wood. It's a scrape. They come in different shapes as well. It's not a scrape, but you could use it as one. I don't know where my... Oh, there. You got this crazy looking one too. Look at that. For furniture building and such. I work on a lot of axe handles, so this profile is what I use most. Would it not be faster with sandpaper? Absolutely be faster with sandpaper, but that's not how the old-timey people did it, and that's not how I'm going to do it. Well, I'm going to do it later after we get it off. Sandpaper can clog up pretty fast with this junk that's on here. Crispy bacon, a draw knife handle. pretty lame, but I just got approved for live, so I grabbed something off the shelf that I've been putting off for a while and did that, and it's better than me, I don't know, talking about tools, I guess. Just refinished this one, left that on, but this took the oil really well. It's a California style framer, not the type of hammer I used when I was building houses, but pretty cool. Actually, this is the hammer I used when I was building houses. So yeah, it's all beat up and the waffles are all sad, but it's a sure strike as well. Favorite oil and stain depends on what I'm working on, but let me go to the fridge and get it. So this is, flaxseed is the same as linseed, but this is raw, not boiled linseed, and this is food grade, so you can use it on stuff like this. There's a little OXO spoon that I refinished and just oiled recently. I think it produces a better finish, personally. You can do things like take raw linseed oil, turpentine, and beeswax and melt it all together, and that makes a really good finish. It's just a little, I don't know, it's time consuming to make, but it's easier to apply. But I work out of town a lot, so I just put the raw linseed oil on and wait until I get home. Check the comments. Yeah. I've got some posts outside. Oh, Cody, use half diesel, half used oil, and just put it in a pump spray and spray it on it. Yeah, anything that has you sliding your hand, especially like an axe or a sledgehammer, shouldn't have a lacquer finish. It'll beat your hands up real bad. Axe with oil on it would make it more comfortable. Girl is a nice touch. I always prefer to be touched by girls, but oh, Chanson, the freaking epoxy guys, they make so much freaking money. That is a very lucrative business. I my wife's my wife has a friend that her husband does that stuff, and he freaking barely works. He just builds that every once in a while and takes time off and goes fishing, and I don't know, probably plays golf. But yeah, this wood is trash. It's so hard to work with. This one's harder, which is weird. They came out of the same thing, and you can just tell this is probably twice as heavy as this junk. I'm gonna have to make new freaking handles. It's gonna be annoying. Gaming with Tommy, yeah. Get inspired. Go do stuff. These guys got me freaking on here when I should be sleeping or working or, I don't know, doing something productive. Now I can be half productive and half read comments. Which is, here's a weird question for you guys. When I hear my voice on my shorts and stuff, I pretty much hate it. Is that the same for you guys? Yes, Cody. Half diesel, half used motor oil in a pump sprayer and spray it on there. Unless you want a nice finish. And it depends on where you live. If you live in high moisture areas, a wax-based finish like what's that crap? Thompson's Water Seal is a paraffin base. It is an extremely good water repellent, but the sun eats it up a lot. Cabot is probably the highest end off-the-shelf finish that you can buy. It's really good stuff. I think Lowe's sells it, but anything made by Cabot, especially their Australian timber oil, it's extremely expensive, but it's the best. Thanks, J-Dog. I still hate my voice even in real life, so I hope I get over it. Pennsylvania. Never been there. Never been even close to any of those states over there. Yeah, it'll make it look like crap and smell like crap, but it'll protect it really good. You want something cheap or something nice for those pine posts? If you want something cheap and easy, boiled linseed oil, just spray it on there. If you want something nice, spar varnish, spar urethane, like Hellsman is really good. Takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but it's very UV resistant. It's what they used to use on old sailing ships. Typically 3 to 5 coats, but for pine, I don't think it would be worth it. What got me into woodworking? My grandfather was a master carpenter, and my dad and me built houses together. but that's not really woodworking. That's just hacking at wood. Shellac's great. Yeah. I personally don't like polyurethane. It's easy to work with, and if you get the water-based stuff, it's very clear. But polys are essentially liquid plastic that dries. I like a little more natural. Um, Nothing wrong with poly-based stuff. It's just not my jam. But for sure, if you want a nice finish that's clear, water-based poly is the way to go for indoor use. Spar varnish is pretty much what you want to use on nice wood outside. Um, Polyurethane doesn't breathe either. Um, so if you have like antique furniture, you would use a paste wax and wax your furniture once a year. It's a pain in the ass, but if you're committed. Um, it really depends on the type of wood it's made out of. If it's oak, oak, uh, hickory, walnut, stuff like that, it, it'll outlast your lifetime no matter what finish you put on it. As long as it's not getting gun oil on it. Gun oil is extremely bad for wood. There are some very nice antique guns that have gotten ruined because the gun oil leaks down into the buttstock sitting in a safe, and the buttstock will crack from the gun oil being leached into it for years and years and not being used. Guns are tools, so you should use them like tools and take care of them. I heard that laminated surplus Forster 10 furniture has gas tube and handguard. That really depends on 922R compliancy and the importer. A lot of times the handguard will be wood, but the grip will be plastic because you need so many components that are made in USA to fit 922R compliance. A trigger, typically, that's why you see a bunch of Tapco triggers in the older ones, because they count as like 3 components or something like that. What is a really dense wood? Fire retardant. Ironwood, like this. This is basically as hard as steel is. It's here. Let me hit it with a hammer. That hurt my ears. The grain structure is extremely tight. I've even have a piece that's polished here. Focus. And that's just from sanding and buffing. There's no finish on that. So ironwood is extremely dense, good wood. I have to plug in my phone. I didn't account for that. That was a dummy move. Fucking wanker. What an idiot. 4 people watching, don't you have anything better to do with your lives? Yeah, okay. Go to Wooks or something company. I wouldn't take on that. AK Furniture is extremely hard to make by hand because it's so thin. You pretty much have to have it CNC'd. Um, Even the original ones were through multi-process tooling, not not really handmade. I think it's a holdover from like um, oh, what do they call those guns? The predecessor to the Mosin, where they have those heat shields made out of wood, like Lee Enfield kind of looking things, stuff like that, where they would run them through a milling process. But making it by wood would, or by hand would be extremely hard. Holy crap. Yeah, and um, J Dog, it's with technology too. I mean, back in the 40s, they didn't have laminated wood, so they just did what they could, and it's war production. So the best you can make, the fastest and cheapest, is what they did. Oh, geez, more comments than I expected. Well, if you don't remember, how am I supposed to remember? I don't know. Yeah, so Utah Dad, that's a big thing. There's so many AKM variants that are slightly different. They don't just swap over. I dealt with that with my Warser and my Tantal both. I kept the Tantal stuff because it's Bakelite, and I like the history of that. They just it's like plywood to J Dog. So they take the grain structure, they veneer the wood like this. You know, this is a veneer. Cut it thin, and they'll take the grain structure this way and then this way and overlap the cells and put glue in between, and then put it in a vacuum press or a hydraulic press, depending on the time. Um, and laminated wood is all dependent on what the raw stock of the veneer. So if you have like all walnut veneer, laminated is going to be extremely good, depending on the adhesive they use. Oh yeah, Yugos are crazy. Yeah, laminated wood is heavy because it has adhesive pressed into it. So it's essentially using the wood fibers as a medium for the adhesive to stay together. Guess I'm not very entertaining. I'd go and grab that Grand's Force Brooks that I've been working on for years and show you guys, but it's in the bedroom and I'm not going to wake my wife up. I don't have a death wish. Yeah, that'd be cool. Boats are so freaking cool. Um, I don't. I think if you dug a hole and threw money into it, it'd be cheaper than a boat, but they're cool. Drunken vodka magic? No, that's Bakelite. Bakelite is drunken vodka magic for sure. Sorry. I'll do it over here. So you can tell, like, just by the sound, this one is scraping so much better. But I think I backed myself on the corner. I'm gonna have to remake these. So I don't even know why I'm doing it. Just fidgeting because I'm nervous, I guess. Coast the board. Never heard of that. Let's just put some cool stuff out and deal with this later. That did not go the way I expected. Well, it went the way I expected my life to go, but not this project. Stuff that I think is cool out there. Let's see. I got a bunch of old antique tools somewhere. Showing this one earlier. This thing is freaking way cool. This is my grandpa's, and I did not take the finish off this because this is exactly how he left it. So I'm keeping it exactly how he had it. Got a really nice brass adjuster for the frog. Old Stanley Bailey. That wrench funks. Show us the Knipex. All of them? Jeez. Let's see here. Is that what you want? Oh, hey, good reminder. I have the Cobra version. But I don't have the pliers wrenches version. So I specifically use these for AR builds. Their jaw pattern, come on, is really good for holding roll pins. You can imagine, you know, this is a roll pin. Woo. Tink, 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 tink. So I specifically got those for builds. Use a pair like this every day at work. These are fantastic wire strippers. Oh, those are icons. How'd they get in there? Silly. And these are amazing too. Focus, focus. If you ever have a screw break off, these are the freaking jam, because you can get in there on the edge and just pull the screw out for extracting. Come on, get in there. Come on. Get the light on that. Let's see. Brass and Beards, what's up? Yeah, I was struggling with other pliers for roll pins, so those are great. I would somewhat agree. I mean, Knipex are extremely reliable, but they're definitely not in the affordable range. That's why I don't have the mini plier wrenches, is because yeah, I saw that. I'm filming on my phone, and it's in like the holder. I can't get to it. Yeah, but if you use your tools professionally, they're definitely worth it. There's nothing else like them, like especially these. I have two sets of these, the bigger version that I was turning hydraulic fittings with earlier today, tightening 1.5 inch conduit with these for work. These are all my fancy, nice home tools. They don't get used, but yeah, nothing compares to Knipex. But I really like unusual tools. Like this little weird looking thing. It's amazing how ergonomic. Move these out of the way. How ergonomic this is, and then the Weras, they just fit your hand perfectly. It's dumb that no one thought about this shape before. And this one, you can really crank on it, or you can be gentle with it. These are really, really great. Okay. Yeah, if you have a, well, I get my Knipex on Amazon, but if I'm buying from the company, Consolidated Electrical Supply is a good place. Yeah, electrician tools are great as long as they're not Klein. Yeah, if your tools make you money, they don't cost anything, you know, essentially. That's why professionally and... Alright, Utah Dad, adios. Asti Spumanti. Surprised Brass and Beards didn't crawl up my bum for talking crap about Klein. You know, the one tool that Klein doesn't make is a broom. Yeah, you like chickens are always about those screwdrivers. And it's fine. I can't stand them. I was actually talking to the electrician today at the job, and I was showing him the Weras, and it's just part of you guys' culture as electricians. Is Klein is sold by every electrical supply and everywhere, but they're old school design. It's just there's one right here actually. Look, it's just a tube with a stick hanging out the end. It's like turning a broom handle, which you electricians wouldn't know anything about, but what now? Yeah, that picture confused me too when I first saw it. I actually had to click on it and look at it. Let's get that out of there. No one wants to see that crap. Can anybody tell me what that is? Any guesses? Nope. Come on, someone say it, because it's not. Yeah, that's a vessel from Japan. They make a version, I have them on my work truck, that it has a strike on the back and then a ceramic ball inside, so it's electric rated, but still metal strikeable. It's really cool. I should go grab it, but I won't. Yeah, someone said cannonball. It is not a cannonball. I thought that's what everybody was going to jump in on, but no, it's not a cannonball. I got a bunch of cool little oddities. Give props to whoever can guess what any of these things are. Obviously, if you say elevator stuff, that's not good enough. That point? No, it's not a plumb bob. Actually, no, this is not even fair to be in here. This is a pipe rupture valve, the internals of it. So if the pipe breaks on your hydraulic elevator, this will slam shut and stop you from falling to your death. That's not even fair to be in there. No one should know what that is. not a cannonball, but it is a ball, and the name of it is something, ball something. Oh, that's cool. Here's the inside of a pressure gauge. It's really cool. As the pressure goes up, it expands. Gauge goes up. You know. The internals, there's a little gear in there. You can see that clockwork working. Oh, yeah. You guys ever seen anything like this? I'm gonna run out of stuff to talk about on my other lives if I keep doing that. But let's check that thing out. Look at that. Isn't that cute? Plane. Look at this here. I get in on an elevator every day for work. Every time the door closes, my inner thoughts is go bad. It's so nice to know. Oh yeah, modern elevators in America, in continental United States, are very safe. Except New York, Las Vegas, and Florida. But as long as you're not there, you should be good. Yeah, this is a piece of a cut thing. This is what the elevator rides on. This is a cross section of T rail. This is 8-pound rail. This is very small. Typically, elevators use 12 or 16-pound rail. A lot of this stuff I have just for, you know, here's the internals of a little motor. Four people. I don't know. You guys got to have better lives than hear me rant about this. No more guesses on this? That works. No, I haven't ever seen one fall on the ground, but I have seen one crash into the ceiling. Well, not personally. I wasn't there during it, but yeah. Sometimes elevators go up and crash, not just down. I can explain that if anybody cares, but we'll go back to this. This is a bearing for a excavator. So you see how it's got some flat spots. That's why they had to replace it. But this is an excavator bearing for the big turret on an excavator. Oh no, there's way more terrifying things. Some elevators, like home elevators, if you get trapped underneath them, they won't crush you. They'll just make it so you can't breathe in, and you can only breathe out, so you end up drowning. Yeah, big fears. There, that's actually that's a big fear of mine. Elevators are scary, especially for technicians. Yeah, way more scary for technicians than public. Oh, but you make a lot of money. I mean, isn't that what we do as men? We go do scary things and make money. I rebuilt this one for my wife. She picked the color. Isn't it cute? I refinished that handle. That's raw linseed oil on here. It's not quite buffed the way I would like, but it's a pretty good one. Got this at a antique shop. I actually use this one more than most, but you can see I got a little chip in it. I was planing down a piece of wood and it had a brad nail in it. Ain't that a pisser? I'll tell you this. So, you know those movies that have the escape hatch in the top? It's there, but you can't get out. It is a rescue hatch. So, don't ever think that you're like, oh, I'm stuck in the elevator. I'll just climb out this hole in the top. That ain't happening. You're more likely to get trapped in between the doors and smear yourself to death, like a skid mark in between the elevator, than actually falling. So yeah, fun facts about elevators. With I almost said my name. Ooh, embarrassing. Drinking my pineapple White Claw and having me a vape. What? You mean your mom didn't name you J-Dog? That's weird. I feel like if you had like a mannequin and put it on a chair with an oscillating fan attached to it, you'd get a bunch of people showing up. I always wondered about if the interaction, like if the YouTube AI knows that you're like doing stuff. So how will one get to the top of the elevator hatch if it's stuck? Do they rope down? So it depends on the type of elevator. There's essentially two types of elevators. You have express elevators that go like 1 to the 50th floor. We call them stops. Or you have like your normal hotel where it stops at every floor. We call it a landing. It's actually kind of hard to explain to not elevator people. So if you have like a 12-story building and it stops at every floor, they'll go to the floor above it and, well, they'll disable the elevator. And typically, the firefighter, well, if they're firefighters, they just use an axe and break all our shit. But there's a key that you can get in. and they'll lower a ladder down, and that hatch is locked from the outside, and that's why it's called a rescue hatch, not an escape hatch. So they'll go down there. There's this video, I think it's on YouTube, of this really scary instance of where the elevator is halfway up the floor, and they open the doors, the firefighters did, and they're extracting a woman like 4 feet above, and as she's crawling out, she slips and falls down the hoistway, and I think she dies. And there's the worst one is, if anybody wants to look up terrible things, there's an elevator on a cruise ship where a not elevator technician was in there dinking around with stuff, and the elevator decided that it was good to start going again, and there is red stuff just streaming down the doors, and he's no longer with us. Yeah, we use that in training videos. This elevator goes from the basement to 3rd floor. Is there any stops above that? So typically an express elevator only goes from one. It only has 2 stops, the bottom landing and the top landing. So in like high rises, New York, Chicago, stuff like that, you'll have bank elevators where they're all in a line next to each other, and you'll have one that goes, and they build them on top of each other. It's wild. So you'll have a 50-story building, and most elevators will go like 1 to 10, and the next set over 1 to 20, and then the express elevator will go like 1 to 30 or something like that, and then you'll get out of the express elevator, go to the one that takes you to the next sequential stops. Oh, B123. Yeah, that's just a normal elevator. And the interesting thing about that is, as technicians, it'd be 1, 2, 3, and 4. There, the bottom landing is 1 all the time because it's the stop. We don't care about the building and how it's configured. So we have like oh shoot, what do they call that? Bi-level buildings, where half the building is like half up. So an elevator could have like 2 different sets of doors, and it'll stop at like floor and a half on the right, and then the 2nd floor on the left, or something like that. We still consider those stops. So if you have a 8-story building that's a bi-level, you could have, 14 stops within that elevator. That the price and stuff, I couldn't tell you. 5 floors, 6 floors is extremely cheaper than 7. You can put a direct acting hydraulic elevator up to 6 stories essentially in building code, but past that you have to have a traction elevator, so like counterweights and ropes, like that video I sent you. That's a traction elevator, but sometimes they just have a giant hydraulic ram that is the same length as the building underground that pushes a huge hydraulic piston up and down. But cost wise, couldn't tell you. And it 80K. That seems a little low, but I'm not sure. if you have the doors all in a line, it's like half the cost as if you had doors um, opposing or adjacent to each other. There's a whole lot of factors in pricing that I really couldn't tell you, but it's more than just this fits in a hole and it goes up and down. You have a, like, if you've been to a hotel and you see doors that there's like two doors that part in the middle, it's called a single speed biparting door. That costs different than a single speed door that just moves one way instead of the center opening. And the big door that moves once, like just slides across, is cheaper than the mechanism that moves two doors opening opposing each other, but those are much faster. So if you have like a heavy traffic area, like a hotel where the elevator's moving all the time, you want to have center opening biparting doors because they open and close much faster, and you can get your patrons to where they need to be a lot faster, and that costs more. So there's a whole bunch of factors in there. JC, my man, I'm glad to see you here. I'm surprised anybody showed up. It's kind of cool. I really appreciate all of you. Have you done freight elevators, like big ones? Yeah, so I worked at a college that put in an elevator, a hydraulic elevator, for taking bleachers from one basketball thing to the volleyball thing. I don't do sports, I don't know. Court, I guess. And you could park two cars on this elevator. Like literally, like it would lift two cars and you could fit two cars in there. And one single hydraulic cylinder pushed this up and down. It was the, so you know when I say hydraulic cylinder, it's like on a piece of machinery, like a backhoe or something like that, and they have those little cylinders that are like this. This one was, I can't even, 10 inches across diameter, 10-inch diameter, 12-inch diameter. And the size isn't necessarily for, like, rigidity comes into play, but the bigger the hydraulic ram is, the lower the pressure is. So you have, yeah, physics is super important. All that, there's equations for all this stuff. So if you have here's a great example here. I use these. So if you have a ram that's being pushed that is small, it takes more pressure to push this. This would take less pressure, but more volume of hydraulic oil. So you have high pressure, low volume, low pressure, high volume. So factors in there. Like you can have a car lift that only uses like, I don't know, 3 gallons of hydraulic fluid, and it'll lift a car 1 story. Or you have these like 6-stop. I think we, on that college, we pumped somewhere between 4 and 6. I think it was 5.5 or something like that. 55-gallon drums of hydraulic oil. So the bigger the mass of the hydraulic ram, the less pressure you're putting on the pipe. And the pipe's only rated for so much pressure, so you have to account for that. And then the pump will pump volume. And those pumps run, it's crazy because the pumps will pump the same amount of fluid no matter what. It's just to like slow down and stuff, they just dump it back into the tank. So let's say you have an elevator moving at 200 feet per minute. That's pretty slow, but as it comes into the floor, it's going to go down in a wave, so it arcs. So you can't, when you ride an elevator, it doesn't just like stop and like jolt you around. It gradually tapers off. Well, all that fluid that's tapering off is still the same amount of fluid. It's just going back into the tank, the holding tank, instead of being pushed into the cylinder. So you're getting, I can't even think of the volume. Probably like, 50 gallons a second or something. And it tapers off to like 2 or 3 in a gradual form, so you have a nice easy ride. Okay, so it's really interesting. So if you have a fast elevator, J-Dog, it has to be vented. So imagine, the car. Everybody wants to know like what's behind, what's outside the little box. So if you have a hoistway, which is what most people call a shaft, and it's dimensionally fairly close to the size of the car, even by, you could have square feet extra. But if it's moving fast, that air pressure pushes. And if it moves fast enough and there's a tight enough volume, it'll blow the doors off of the hoistway or the landing, you know. There are some very fast elevators that have air turbines at the top and the bottom of the hoistway to suck and push air to make negative pressure, so it doesn't, the elevator cab doesn't blow the doors off of the building, basically. Yeah, absolutely. And a side note on that, I'm just rambling about elevators, but typically all those vents have a curtain on them with a lead seal. So fire is super important in the elevator industry. So if the building catches on fire, there's a little tiny lead seal that melts and then will slam shut so that there's not essentially a flue for the fire to move up the entire building. So all those vents will slam shut and seal if there's a fire. Yeah, always take the stairs. You don't know who's working on your elevator. The elevator code book is, I don't know, 2,000 pages or something crazy like that. I couldn't tell you. 600 sounds more correct, actually. Pick it up. Be a man. Come on. It's funny you say that. Is people are always like, "Oh, you're an elevator technician. It must be so easy." It's like all I do is run up and down stairs because I never work on an elevator that's running properly unless I'm doing maintenance and I shut it down to maintain it. So my whole life is running up and down stairs. Okay, so commercial elevators um, are so there's an initial acceptance. The initial acceptance has to meet current NAEC code and whatever the other crap it is. It's got to meet all the codes to get accepted. And there's a 1 year kind of half-ass test, but every 5 years it goes through essentially the acceptance test again, where they're loaded with weights, the capacity of the elevator, and tested to make sure that it is still running 100% to code. So long story short, 5 years is what a registered elevator will go through. So you can get a variance for acceptance. So if there's major infractions and minor infractions, and if the minor infractions don't pass, they'll still let the elevator be in operation, but have it under contract to come up to code. We deal with that a lot with older elevators. I've worked on a lot of like fire rating where the elevator was accepted in the 90s, but it's not fire taped throughout the whole hoistway, or fire sealed, fire caulked, all that. And the elevator is working perfectly, but it doesn't meet current fire code. So that's a minor infraction, and they won't shut the elevator down for that. And they'll just contract it to, have a drywall guy, come in there and do it. And there's things like fire is a super important thing where they have what's called fire gibs. If a fire was in the building, the doors can't melt and be pushed in. Like if you leaned up against it, if it was under fire, it wouldn't melt and you couldn't fall into the hoistway. And so there's elevators. I worked on elevators from the 30s, and they didn't have any of this stuff. I worked on elevators that had jute rope and wood rails. I've worked on elevators that ran off of city water pressure, made it completely out of brass. There's some really crazy things out there. Everybody's heard of Otis, and he was not famous for making the elevator. The Egyptians had elevators. He was made famous by making a braking system so it wouldn't fall. On point 2A, how's it going? Welcome to the super boring educational chat. Yeah, just use it as a dumbwaiter for sure. Well, it's my first chat, and hopefully, I don't talk about elevators every time we get on here, and I have new entertaining things. Kind of focus on the tool type stuff. There's plenty of specific woodworking channels, automotive channels, and definitely gun channels out there that do things way better than I can ever do. So I'm trying to bring knowledge of everything that I have that's unique and, I don't know, engaging. I wouldn't even say entertaining, but engaging to people. I know a lot of crap about things that don't matter, so. Hold up. You want the Knives? Oh, I don't care about getting off track. I just care about running out of content to talk about. All right, let me put these away. You guys are freaking weirdos. It's not naked ladies or anything, so. What is your favorite tool shed? I don't have a tool shed. No, I know what you mean. I have a ton of bad jokes for that. The one in my hand. Oh, I know. Probably. Well, it depends on what I'm doing because I do a lot of electrical work, but. Cat. Let's see if I can get this in frame still. There you go. Spud ratchet. That's one of them, for sure. It's a hard question. Yeah, they made some wacky tools back in the day. So we use these for what we call sleeping ropes. So elevators don't use cables; they use wire rope. I wish I had an example, but to get the tension correct on all the ropes that suspend the elevator car have to be the same tension. So we actually hit them essentially to adjust the suspension. Let's see. Oh, and to be completely honest, a meter. A meter is my favorite tool because that makes my job the easiest. Really? It's a 3/8 and a half, but you can get them in multiple configurations. Calhawk, sold on Amazon, is a very good brand to use. This is not a Calhawk, but it's very similar. Yes. I couldn't give you a calculation right now, but probably around. It depends on the size. So you're getting into minutia here. Let me show this door. The lifting capacity of an elevator is determined by the size of the car. So if you have a 1,200-pound elevator, it can only be so many square feet. So if you have a higher lifting capacity, the square footage goes up, therefore the weight of the car also goes up. But I would say around 1,000 pounds is probably correct. 2,000-pound rated elevator, about 4x4 feet. 2,000 pounds. That's a lot of lifting capacity, especially for how small that is. So 15 square feet is 950 pounds. 18 square feet is 1,400. And I don't remember the rest. I'll get to that question here in a second. J-Dog, does that kind of make sense though? And if it's a traction elevator where it has counterweights, the weight of the car, the weight. So, oh shit. If you have a 100-story building, there's a cable of wires that goes with it. You have to account for the weight of that cable because the car is lifting that as well. What's one dream tool you really want but it's too expensive? Like a dream tool. My gut reaction is automotive lift. And that's because I don't have a garage that will pick it up that high. I don't know. It's a really interesting question. I would say what's those electrical things? I'm not smart enough to use them, but they're cool. Oscilloscope. Oscilloscope would be freaking way cool to have, but I'm not smart enough to use them. Tool doesn't have to be titanium. Be handheld. What do you mean by that? And I deal with so many trades and so many different stuff. There's so many cool tools out there. Like now you're making me think a CNC machine or a mill, metal lathe. I could do a lot of things with a metal lathe. I have a tool that's not handheld. It's called an Apprentice, and he's a big old tool. Well, they have titanium printers now as well. I think OSS Suppressors is making cans with titanium 3D printing, pass-through cans. Well, I haven't gotten into forging yet. I have an anvil, but that takes up a lot of space. That's a big, expensive hobby. Yeah. I mean, you could go down the other way. And what about a mill, like a timber mill, sawmill? I guess you could pick a trade and pick a really expensive tool. But a tool for the garage, would make your life easier. Automotive lift for sure. Oh yeah, I've seen those before. They're crazy. I have very limited experience on a mill and have seen what a CNC can do, but you got to be a lot more brain power than I have for that stuff. That's engineering. Like you got to have a freaking engineering degree and run CAD and all that. I've seen the engineers use their SolidWorks and stuff, and it's complicated. We even had a guy that did reaction forces on different types of steel and steel thicknesses. Blew my mind what they can calculate. Well, I'm gonna shut her down soon. I think this is pretty successful live for my first go at it. I really appreciate you guys being here. Puts it in private. What does that mean? Hey, we're all a little bit on that spectrum, so that's why I like hanging out with you guys. And that'll get more after live views then? Cool. We'll give her a go. I appreciate it, fellers. Any last words? All right, victory, brothers.